welcome back to this week's episode of Podiatry Marketing. And with me is my co-host, as usual, partner in crime, Big Jim. How you doing?
Tyson, I'm good. I'm never going to stop laughing when you call me Big Jim, but 5'9", 150. I'm not the biggest man on the planet, but I appreciate the compliments. How are things in your world?
Good. You're only 150 pounds, are you?
Yeah, I'm a runner, cyclist. I'm a tiny little man, so what can I say?
Yeah, I'm about more than 150 at the moment. I'm way more than 150. I reckon if I really started to get into exercise a bit more, stop eating because I love food, I could probably get down to maybe 175 would be in pounds wise. But I think at the moment I'm probably about 205. I'm a light heavyweight.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Like that just,
But
I was born with good genetics.
I had good genetics until I hit 50. And then my genetics just disappeared one day.
Yeah.
My mum used to always say, you can't fatten a thoroughbred. I'm here to prove her wrong.
I've got 5 years. I'll see how I end up at age 50. So we'll see.
Yeah, you'd be 151. So what are we talking about today, Jim?
So today we're going to talk about Facebook ads for podiatry clinics. That's going to be the topic we dive deep into.
Okay. I've had a lot of people ask about Facebook ads in general. So I've done a little bit, but obviously nowhere near the amount that you have or for other people. I've only ever done it for myself. So where do you start? If somebody wanted to know more about ads, what do they do?
Yeah, so I guess it starts off with just understanding that platform. Obviously, with Facebook ads, there's different types of channels where if you put up a Facebook ad, where it can show up. So first and foremost, like Facebook advertising platform controls Instagram as well. So when you're doing Facebook ads, you'll have an option to do Instagram ads at the same time. So just being aware of that. And then you'll basically...
Do you pay double?
No, you have a certain budget, right? So if you spread your ads on Facebook and Instagram and then Instagram feed versus Instagram search, there's all these other places they want to put your ads. But generally, I recommend people kind of stick to the feeds. It start off with just Facebook to begin with. I think that's the platform where people maybe 35 and over are at. And those are most of the people that are making medical decisions or maybe someone's got a kid with an ingrown toenail or something. It's probably the parent that's going to see the ad, not the kids. Obviously, the younger generation isn't on this platform as much, but I think for the time being, that's where this should live at. Instagram, if you want to put on the Instagram feed as well, but I would keep it to the main feeds. And then really the next step after that, and besides where it should live within those platforms, is knowing the rules and regulations around medical advertising on those platforms.
So when you're talking about the main feed, that's just, when we're normally scrolling through Facebook and you look at your friends and photos and hamburger pictures and all that, it's just they're the ads that you see come through and it'll say sponsored underneath.
Yeah, 100%. That's where it's at. But if you also see if you're on desktop, you'll maybe see some ads in the upper right-hand corner as well. If you search for something or if you look on Facebook Marketplace or there's different other areas within Facebook where you might be served an ad. Maybe you're on the mobile app and they have the stories as well with that kind of mobile phone image format. There are definitely other places to be at, but I think when you're first getting started, it's good just to keep it pretty basic.
So what works well in an ad? So if a lot of text or a photo, what is the best way to get your message across?
Sure. So I think the first thing to start off is understanding the regulations and the rules around what you can and can't do on the Facebook platform.
Oh, good point. Yes. You don't get your ass kicked.
You don't get your ass kicked, but what happens is they just won't serve your ads and this includes before and after photos are generally not allowed on Facebook. Also anything that's very kind of body part specific, and not that you can talk about an ingrown toenail or you can say the words, but any kind of graphic or images that show a body part, it's usually going to get flagged and that won't allow that ad to run. So it's important to know these distinctions. And as you're getting started, it's not always clear. There's not the guidelines are a little bit fuzzy as far as what Facebook will and won't put out there. For example, I've done Facebook ads for ingrown toenails. Let's say it's a video ad, but so if I run an ad that shows even a drawing of an ingrown toenail, maybe red pulsations where the pain of the ingrown toenail is happening, that will get flagged and they won't show it. But if I have a patient doing a testimonial about how they had an ingrown toenail and if it's one of the podiatrists took care of it, generally that will go through. So it's important to if you are doing a campaign, to make sure you have different types of creative to run to make sure that at least one of them will go through. Because sometimes you think you want to test 2 or 3 things, but only one will actually make it through Facebook's filters.
It was funny. I ran an ad years ago and it was about something saying, do you suffer from heel pain? Had a photo there of a foot. It wasn't a really bad looking foot. It was a good looking foot actually. And all of a sudden I get this message from Facebook and said, sorry, but your ad is offensive to anybody who has heel pain. I was discriminating against people with heel pain.
Yeah.
I went, okay. So I changed the wording, got knocked back again, and I kept having to tweak it until I was saying, do you have heel pain, but not saying, do you suffer? So that I wasn't discriminating against people with heel pain, which was really odd.
No, there are these kind of ways you phrase things, right? If you pose a question that implies something or implies a diagnosis, there are these little, it seems, if you want to help someone with a certain thing, you think you would have to say that thing, but they're trying to have you say it in a way that, obviously I think it's more towards those types of things are more about like cosmetic surgery or things that maybe like are body shaming. And then they just extract those down to levels that maybe don't need to be extracted down to, but just to protect it, like to have a hard guideline, they will sometimes do those things, like you said.
Because it's not really a bunch of people in a room specifically looking at your ad, is it? It'd be algorithms and certain flags that flag certain words that automatically it just gets knocked back.
Right.
Without someone actually looking at it.
Like we're talking about, like that as we set up a campaign, there's all kinds of targeting and different types of options about who we're going to show these ads to, right? When you, like whether you do it yourself or you have someone do it for you, there's the different parameters you're going to set up to determine about who sees this advertisement, right? So is it people from 18 to 65? Are you going after, like, let's say it's like you're treating some people with high heel pain, right? So that's probably a women, professional working age between 30 and 60. Like you're going to run that ad and you can actually have only those people have it show up on their profile. You can also put a geolocation around where these advertisements are shown on Facebook as well. So if you're a clinic in a suburban area and you want to do your town and like the 5 surrounding towns, you can control it there. And that will help you not only make sure it's super relevant to your local community, but also help as far as budget goes. So you're not advertising around the world or even in your country. You're keeping it to that like local targeted advertising campaign for the type of patients or people you want to treat.
Yeah. And I've seen people do that poorly, where an ad or something will come through and I look at it and I go, whatever it is they're selling, it's a physical product, but they're not even, and you click on it and it's like nowhere near Cairns. It could be in another country and it's just that obviously someone's done the targeting wrong and it's not where it should be.
Yeah, that happens all the time, especially for people. I would say like my perfect example is people in Manhattan, New York versus Manhattan, Kansas. So if you happen to make one small mistake and setting up, just let's go after the keyword Manhattan, or you've typed in Manhattan and like somehow selected Kansas instead of New York. And now you're advertising there. Like, that's hundreds of or thousands of dollars of ad spend that you can check it. But if you're just not used to those tools, it can be a bit confusing. And Facebook and these other platforms want you to spend your money. So they're not going to
tell you.
They're not going to tell you. They're not going to give you a refund, right? If you make a mistake, it's on you.
Yeah. So they're not going to say, hey, Jim, did you mean Cairns, Australia or Cairns in Canada? And you go, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean,
and they don't refund you if you make a mistake either.
I grew up near Sydney, Illinois, right? So that's a little bit different than Sydney, Australia. So you definitely have to keep your eyes on those things.
So what budget, when you're talking Facebook ads, because I know it's not overly expensive, what type of budget would you recommend someone needs to spend to get a good result?
Yeah, this kind of gets into like how to how should you approach it? What should the time frame be? Like now that you know how to set it up from the tooling aspect of things, but what is that like plan of action you're going to take with this tool in order to get some positive results for your clinic? And it's the best place to start in my mind is like a monthly campaign focused on like a specific topic. And like generally what I say for most people just getting started, depending on what location you're at, like generally a $500 a month budget is like a decent place to start from an ad spend perspective. Obviously, if you do DIY it, you can just only spend $500, but you're probably going to spend an additional maybe $250 to $300 on someone to set these things up for you as well. But yeah, so like you're somewhere in the ballpark of $500 to $800. It's really focused on these kind of iterative campaigns because like we talked about, it's coming up in somebody's feed and it has to be something that's relatively fresh. If you're just showing them the same thing for if we try to run the same Facebook ads for a year, like it's going to just be fading into the background, not engaging. They've seen it 5,000 times. They're not going to click on it the 5,001 time. So having it be a month is like a good place to see if that campaign is working. And then maybe like you talked about in some of the other things, some of our other podcasts, like you keep that in your back pocket and maybe bring it out next quarter or in 6 months from now. It worked. It was great, but we can't just beat a dead horse with this campaign. So that's the way to approach it. And there's different ways as far as, so what should I like? So that being said, we know the budget, we know the time frame. What do we even do? And I think really like the main focus that I've seen the best results with is not only from people making appointments perspective, but also awareness about the clinic, are video related advertisements. Moving pictures are just more engaging to us humans, like colors and people talking, other human faces, talking to other humans. It's just more of an engaging environment as opposed to a bunch of text or just a photo of a foot. That's definitely a stock image. Like those things don't connect as much. I will also mention that you have to be careful with the amount of text you have in a photo or even a video. Sometimes that will get flagged if it's over a certain percentage and may not be shown. They really want more photos and videos like in that window, and the text to be what you supply like on that kind of text section of the Facebook ad, not on that ad as far as the video or the photo goes. So that
yeah, I've been smashed a few times on that where I've posted something, and it might be to do with podcasting or something like that. And I've done an ad, and yeah, it's been knocked back. So I'm really aware. I think it might be something like 10 or 20%. It's only a smaller percentage you can have text. And the problem is sometimes the photo, the thing you've done, the text is the image that you're trying to get out there, and it just won't go through.
Yeah, it definitely is a problem because I think it's over 30%. I'd have to look at they always change these things, right? So they're always changing like what percentage of the surface, the area of the image or the video can be text, and it's always changing. So I usually like a lot of practice these days when getting started will create some type of video content. Maybe it's like a 1 or 2 minute testimonial with a patient is either professionally done or done by, we all have these HD cameras in our pockets now. If you do have it on a tripod and you get a good testimonial that can be cut together by somebody, there are ways of creating workflows like that. But a lot of clinics now have these 1 minute or 2 minute videos that can be utilized for Facebook ads and repurposed in a way where you're not having to go spend thousands of dollars additionally to make more videos. So that's one thing I've used with clients in the past that have previously invested, whether it be 5 years or 10 years ago. If it's still really good content, a video is, as long as it's not it doesn't look too dated from a design perspective, it can still be better than just a plain photo or any kind of text-based advertising.
So how does this relate with Facebook pixels?
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. I think before we jump to that specific as far as like the attribution and how do we know it's working, I would say that there's really 3 types of campaigns that I think people should consider when like considering Facebook ads. Number one is I would call like the general video advertisement, basically talking about who you are, what your practice is, where you're located. You're that member of the community. You're that local expert, and it positions you that way.
Yeah.
I think that's one great one, whether you're new at practice or you're trying to reintroduce yourself to the area or to local patients, or maybe you're experimenting around other local suburbs or other local places. It's a good place that's the type of creative or the type of video that's good to use. The second thing is really appealing to a specific like patient demographic. If you're really wanting to be the marathon podiatrist or the running podiatrist, having an ad that has that flavor that shows you as the expert in that niche or that subspecialty, you're working at the medical tent if you can do that, or there's some interaction with you and runners that makes you look authoritative. That's hugely important. And then the third option is more, I would say, like the procedure of the diagnosis stuff, like we touched on there. If you want more ingrown toenails, like I talked about, you may not be able to show a toe or like even a drawing of a toe with an ingrown toenail, but if you have a testimonial with someone talking about how they were in pain, they did an office procedure and they felt so much better. You provided amazing care. Like that's another option. I think those 3 types of campaigns that can be good places for people to start with Facebook ads.
And also your branding with any photographs or videos you do, trying to make sure you've got your logo in that picture somewhere or a consistent color so that it ties in with your business really easy. Because I've seen some people where they'll post something on Facebook, and it's not, I'm talking just podiatry, just the business in general. I'll see the photo and the photo looks so out of brand to what they normally do. And you might know that company, and all of a sudden it feels a little bit rushed or just inconsistent with what the normal brand is.
Yeah, that can be a huge problem, right? There's that disconnect, right? They're on
Yeah.
Facebook, they see something, and then they go to your webpage and it feels like completely different. That kind of difference in branding, or that just that gut reaction that people will have, they feel like people don't want to feel like it's a bait and switch, right? They don't want to feel like
Oh, yeah.
they were promised one thing, it looked like this, and then they clicked a button and they went somewhere else that looks like a completely different world. That's exactly, I definitely agree. That's like the biggest, there could be a huge disconnect there. So there has to be, if that 5-year-old video is a completely different logo, you had a beard, but you no longer have a beard, you gained, well, everyone's got their own hair issues, but it is that kind of connection that is super important. I think I would also say that there is, whether when you're making those videos, you really want it to be you showing you doing things in your clinic, your staff, maybe you interacting with a mock patient. If you're using any kind of stock images or videos that's stock, like you're going to have to, whether it's the filter or the lighting, it's going to have to match somehow. Otherwise, like you talked about, it might feel like you're saving maybe $200 or $300 by splicing in some of this kind of like these stock photos or stock videos, but like it really erodes trust in my mind if you don't have something that's coherent and consistent with the lighting and everything that really tells your story visually. It can be a huge problem.
Yeah, I have noticed that on people's websites. I know we've mentioned websites a lot with different things, but when it comes to photographs, where they'll be using a photo in an ad, and as soon as you look at it, it's a stock photo. It's so stock. It's terrible. So I think it's really important. And I know when I've seen ads on Facebook and I go, oh, that's interesting. I've clicked on it. And like you said, you click on it and it goes to a website, it goes somewhere and you go, nah, that doesn't seem right. Then whenever you see their ad again, you won't click on it because you've already been burnt by it. So I think it's really important if you give what you're promising in that particular ad.
Yeah, you just have to follow through with a genuine offer and build trust. Otherwise, that click was just wasted money. And not only is it wasted money, but then you set up bad feelings where the person's never going to come back again.
Oh, yeah. And that happens a lot. And I've seen podiatry ads that are promoting different things that have come through. And I click on them and I go, oh, that was a bad experience. So I'm very quick to shoot out there. And then when I see that person promoting something again, I go, automatically, I don't have any trust with you anymore because that didn't make any sense the first time.
Yeah.
So I mentioned about pixels. How's that relate with your Facebook advertising?
Yeah, I'd say there's 2 major challenges associated with Facebook advertising. The first is that unlike Google search ads or things where people are searching actively for something, these Facebook ads are just showing up in the feed based off of that demographic information you put into the campaign and what you're hoping to get out of the campaign. So it is important to note that this is not the highest, I would say, return on investment. It can be very lucrative if you're doing it the right way. I'm not saying it can't work, but if you're expecting it to work as well as Google search ads, unless you have amazing content, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed. So it is important to note that this is a kind of an awareness play along with kind of a way to try to get patient appointments for certain things, but just know that going in, because no one goes to Facebook looking for an ingrown toenail specialist, right? Or no one's looking for that running podiatrist when they're scrolling through Facebook. So just keep that in mind, number one. Number two, like you mentioned, Tyson, there are ways that on your website, you can put in a small piece of code, as Tyson referred to as like the Facebook pixel, or maybe it's called the Meta pixel now that they've changed their name and they want to be part of the metaverse now. So this piece of code, basically what it tells is that when someone clicks on one of your advertisements on Facebook itself, and they land onto your website, it helps Meta or Facebook connect those dots. And it used to be very clear back in the day, and when web browsers had less ad blocking, would without your permission share all this data back and forth. But those things have changed now. There's a lot of ad blocking in browsers, especially iOS, Apple, Safari. There's different types of internet browsers now that just will not allow that communication to happen now. So it makes this kind of how do I know it's working, or how can I, like, the Facebook used to tell you like clear attribution statistics, right? 20 people clicked, 5 people made schedule, and it was very clear the data. It's no longer like that. So there are definitely ways now you can address this lack of attribution. Number one is that some of it's, there's a range of it. Number one, it's like you can do some internal tracking by yourself. So whether it's an online form when patients make an appointment, or whether it's if you're still doing paper patient intake forms, if you have a box there that says, how did you find out about us? Or you have your staff ask, why did you come in today for that ingrown toenail? Like, how did you hear about us?
Yeah.
That's one way of trying to, they say, I found you on Facebook. I clicked on a Facebook ad. If they said they found you on Facebook, most likely, and that's what you're advertising that month, there's probably a clear correlation there. If you do feel that there can be sometimes, I just feel like I saw more ingrown toenails this month after advertising it. But
it would definitely work that way, because if you were promoting a particular service, for example, it could be Shockwave. You've just bought yourself a new Shockwave, you're promoting that. And if the only place you were promoting it was Facebook, and all of a sudden you saw the numbers go up for that particular service, then you go, oh, that must be working, I assume.
No, 100%. But just, I think, especially when people are investing in marketing or investing in Facebook ads, they want to see that return on investment, which is completely understandable. But just know that it's not as clear as it used to be. Finding some ways, either in the clinic or on your online forums, to have those, like you talked about, like asking the patient, how did you hear about us? Those are ways for you to create that data and that attribution, which is a little bit more time consuming than just like pulling up a dashboard online. But that's where we're at as far as that type of online advertising when it comes to Facebook.
So back to the pixels just for a sec, because you mentioned you get some code and you put it on your website. Is it a different code you need to put on different pages, or is it the same code and it knows where to go? How does, like, if someone's listening to this and they go, like, how do I put a pixel code on my website? Do they just talk to the website developer to actually get them to do it?
Yeah, so they would have the website developer do it, and they would probably talk to the Facebook advertising. So you have to basically set up these, what they call custom conversions, like within the Meta or the Facebook platform, just to make sure that, like, so for example, a lot of clinics, when someone submits like a request for an appointment, they'll land on what they call like a thank you page. So like every time that thank you page is triggered and it's linked back to Facebook, and there's been a kind of a custom conversion set up on the Facebook side, but that pixel lives on every page on the website. You just tell like Facebook where to look for that specific type of conversion within their kind of software, their dashboard.
Okay. And just one final question. When people are marketing something through Facebook and they are clicking on it, are you setting up? Yeah. Why are you laughing?
No, I thought you meant like when the podiatrist clicking on their own ads. That's probably not a good idea.
No, I think you've got an ad going and it might be a heel problem, for example, or shockwave therapy. Someone clicks on that and they go, yep, that's great. You don't want to take them just to your homepage. You want to take them to a specific page that talks about that. You don't want them going to your website and then having to hunt through everything to try and find that particular thing that they clicked on, they're interested in the first place.
No, that's a perfect example. And the kind of the terminology for that type of page is what we call a landing page. So like that landing page, like we talked about, should match what the ad shows, right? Like it needs to have a similar look and feel to what the ad did. It can't be that complete disconnect. It also really needs to have like clear calls to action and be obviously super topically relevant about what that ad was about, right? If we're doing shockwave one month and ingrown toenails the next month, we're not going to send them to that same landing page, right? We're going to send them to a landing page with an ingrown toenail campaign. It's going to say, Chan's ingrown toenail specialist, Dr. Tyson Franklin, make an appointment.
Legend,
podiatry legend, right? And then there's maybe 3 reviews saying Tyson did an all right job on my toe. Like I didn't have to get amputated. No, like just those testimonials and those reviews for you that are specific to that procedure as well. If you have those, you don't want to have a review on there that says he's really good at heel pain, or that's fine if you're doing the shockwave thing. But if you can make all of those testimonials and reviews dialed in on ingrown toenail and the contents about ingrown toenail, a little bit of information, but all these kind of calls to action that position you as the expert, and they know why they're there. Because basically the call to action on Facebook was probably either book now, learn more. Those types of call to actions are super important, both on Facebook and on the landing page. And like you said, the landing page and the ad really need to be in lockstep as far as the feeling, the branding. So there's not that kind of feeling of a bait and switch.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. To wrap up, have you got a final point about Facebook people need to know before we finish up?
Yeah, I think it can still be highly effective when used in the right way. There's definitely things to set up. It's a little bit different from a return on investment perspective than your Google ads and some of those other things, but definitely the type of targeting that can be done, the visual component of the ads can be very appealing. And if you build these campaigns in a way that what the deliverables you want to provide or the awareness or the expertise you want to provide, you can set up some ways to correlate that or create attribution to make sure that you are getting that return on investment. I think it can be, when you have a rotation of really good Facebook video ads, it can still be a very powerful way to build your practice.
Okay. On that note, Jim, I think we've covered Facebook pretty well. I think anyone that listened to this, if they were thinking about Facebook ads, take away some great information. So thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure, Tyson.
Talk to you next week.
Sounds great.
Done.
Awesome.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, it was good.